By 1683, Maryland was a thriving colony. With an international trade exporting tobacco to the world and importing material goods, more port towns at strategic locations were needed. Legislation was enacted to establish towns to regulate the growing tobacco trade. There was an established ferry crossing at the South River on the road that linked Charleston, South Carolina to Boston, Massachusetts. It made sense to designate this location as the new town of London. As London town grew into a major port, those who came to the colony in hope of a better life worked hard. And many succeeded, providing services for the many ships that called into port for weeks or months at a time. And for a while, it was a prosperous, bustling town. But some towns, in spite of hard work and community, do not last. Time passes them by. By the middle of the 18th century, London town had begun to fade. Trade shifted to Annapolis. Baltimore grew, and a new road and river crossing farther inland were built. By the end of the American Revolution, most of the town was gone. The houses and shops disappeared, falling back into forests and fields, leaving whispers of who and what they were. Only a few buildings marked the town that was. Made of brick, the Brown House remained as it had been built between 1758 and 1764 by William Brown. A ferrymaster, cabinet maker, and tavern keeper, Brown had dreams of riches and greatness. He built a fine Georgian house and tavern meant to rival the wealthy inns of any town in the colonies. It was sophisticated and expensive for its time and place, but Brown went bankrupt in the process. As London town became a memory, Brown's grand dream lived on. In the 1820s, Anne Arundel County bought it, and for the next 130 years, it served as the county almshouse for those also forgotten in the sweep of time. In the 1960s, the county closed the almshouse and restored the William Brown House, a National Historic Landmark. Soon after, they created the Woodland Gardens. The gardens contain trees, shrubs, perennials, and bulbs, a result of the global interest and exchanges of plants since colonial times. Today, London town is an active archaeological site. Excavations of the material culture of the past tell us about this place and time. Unearthed by Anne Arundel County's Lost Towns Project, these artifacts and fragments can be used to date and locate the earth-fast buildings that we discover through archaeological digs. Ongoing archaeological and historical research aid us in decoding our discoveries and link us to our past. Processing, curating, and conserving them allow us to explore and understand who we are and where we came from. We are rebuilding some of the town's earliest structures in their exact footprints. The Lord Mayor's tenement was probably built by David McElfish, who called himself the Lord Mayor of London. Basic utilitarian artifacts found at the site indicate the building was used as a tenement, a rental property. Stains from the post holes show that the wooden house was 20 feet square, the minimum size for a house in town. The reconstructed carpenter shop was originally built in 1725 by Stephen West, another London town entrepreneur. Later, it became William Brown's cabinet-making workshop. An unexpected find during excavation of this site was the discovery of a young child's burial under the building. a tradition in West Africa. It is unique to London Town. The child was reinterred in a traditional African ceremony. Colonial American culture was enriched by traditional practices and food crops introduced through slaves brought to the colonies to serve the ever-increasing labor-intensive tobacco trade. The African American garden features plants that enslaved Africans would have been familiar with and explores the unique cultural knowledge they represent. Today, our diet routinely includes these varieties that came from foreign lands. Along London Town's main road, Scott Street, between the Carpenter Shop and the Brown House, lies the Rumney West Ordinary. Many significant artifacts excavated in the cellar indicate that wealthier people were entertained here during the first half of the 1700s. Our logo, the Mermaid Plate, came from this site. The 8-acre woodland garden contains trees, perennials, and shrubs from around the world. It is a showcase for new plant introductions. Specialized garden areas such as the Azalea Glade and the Winter Walk give displays for every season. Over 150 camellias, developed to withstand temperatures below 0 degrees by Dr. William Ackerman of the U.S. National Arboretum, are grown and evaluated here for future introduction to the nursery trade. London Town is also committed to the latest developments in environmentally sound gardening practices, such as bio-retention areas, rain gardens, and the use of native plants. Plants that were familiar to Maryland colonists as medicinal remedies or food crops are grown in the Richard Hill Medicinal Garden and the Colonial Kitchen Garden. These varieties connected our European ancestors to their past as they made their way in a new world. Seasonal plant sales offer opportunities to purchase these rare and heritage plant varieties propagated on site by our staff and volunteers. London Town offers year-round activities and events for its many visitors and heritage tourists. Some of them are Living History Days with experienced interpreters and reenactors who demonstrate customs and practices of the colonial era. The Winter Lecture Series offers talks on diverse topics with specialists in their fields. Dig Days allow everyone with an interest in archaeology, adults and children, to work alongside the Lost Towns Project archaeologists to help us discover new artifacts in our ongoing excavations. School and group tours provide in-depth discussions and hands-on experiences at London Town. And for special occasions, London Town offers a beautiful site for weddings and family gatherings, as well as business and corporate events. Today, London Town is no longer lost. Our past informs our present through the things our ancestors used and the places where they lived. It connects who we were to whom we are, our differences and our similarities. It reminds us that we cannot truly know ourselves without knowledge of our past. London Town is a living town again, welcoming to all who visit.